We can watch this. Oh, but I would genuinely love to slop it out. But in any case, this is
kind of person
pretty
that can't
interesting.
admit they were wrong. These guys
Hold
gotta
up.
start paying.
This is pretty interesting. This is pretty interesting. Why vertical investing is so important.
Version 4. And with it has come a whole new path, new teams, and updates to older teams. With 4.2 on the horizon, alongside new enemies and even more shilling, it's becoming increasingly more important for free-to-play or low spenders to allocate their pulls wisely if they wish to clear endgame content comfortably. Whether someone chooses to vertically or horizontally invest in their account is generally up to personal preference, but Star Rail has been heavily rewarding those who choose.
I'm pretty sure it's the edit, guys. It's the edit, right? It's the edit.
Those who choose to vertically invest. With that in mind, I think it's important to get into how to vertically invest into your account correctly, and get into how the context of your account changes everything. Okay, so I threw a few terms at you there, so let's just make sure we're on the same page here and what I mean exactly. So, what is vertical investment? Well, in the context of gacha games, it basically means to consolidate your pulls into making your pre-existing or future teams stronger. For HSR, the best example of something like this would be an account that, let's say, pulled E2 Finon with his best team, then pulled E1 Hycealans and her best team, with the idea of pulling more Eidolons or Light Cones when the content becomes too challenging for these teams. This strategy focuses a lot more on pre-planning each pull you make, prioritizing the Eidolons or Light Cones that yield the most benefits at the lowest cost. On the other hand, horizontal investment takes the opposite approach, as it's generally described as spreading your pulls out into many different archetypes.
Wait. There is a huge misconception when it comes to vertical investing. And we're going to talk about this in our cost maxing video, like literally right after this. Vertical investing is not just items and units. It also includes newer units for your existing teams. For example, if you were to pull Dahlia for Firefly when you had no Dahlia and you were running Run Mayfield and HMC or Lingsha, that is still considered vertical investments, because you are making the existing team stronger with the inclusion of a brand new unit. So just because we have Eidolon and Lightcones on the current same team lineup, it doesn't mean that that same team will be in place for the rest of your account. For example, you really think Akron is going to run Jiaoqiu until 2026? And there it is, right? But other than that, yep, very nice.
Capitalize on the shilling the endgame brings for specific archetypes, and use it to get your clears. As such, you generally don't go beyond Easy Res 1 when you pull a character. Instead, put your focus on getting the new, necessary teammates, then moving on to the new and shiny characters that release afterwards. Considering both strategies have very clear upsides and downsides, it may not be immediately clear why vertical investment is seen as stronger in HSR. And while I admit it's not as black and white as I may have led you to believe, the increasing strength placed in early Eidolons has shifted things to be far more in favor of vertical investment as time has passed. It's also important to note that this isn't exclusive to Star Rail, by the way, as the meta shift from Maviku release in Genshin, coinciding with the meta shift from Amphorius in HSR, shows that there was a clear change in game design from Hoyo here. Back to Star Rail though, I'd say that horizontal investment largely fails because Hoyo has become far more okay with releasing somewhat incomplete or inflexible kits, and fixing those things through an E1 or a E2. Funnily enough, the characters I was talking about earlier, Finon and Hycealans, are pretty good examples of this. In case of Finon, he has very high bursts of damage, but his easier kit restricts his action count and gives no workarounds. And guess what? His E2 fixes that. With Hycealans, she has a special bleed dot that scales with the amount of unique dots on an enemy, with a cap of 8, and with her easier teams, only being able to apply 6 of them at most. then guess what? Her E1 fixes that too. So, mind you, this is still happening right now, since as of V2 of 4.2 beta, Evanescence's
whoa, what is that? Oh, I have no idea what's that, by the way. Well, I have no idea what's that.
Run any hypercarry team.
Oh, I have no idea what's that.
Do so at a level that can match her elation compositions. All this has been ignoring the fact that numerically, these Eidolons provide far bigger damage increases than signatures. So much so, in fact, that these teams have lasted far longer in the meta than they should have, oftentimes matching the shield teams in their content with enough investment.
Yep, that's good.
Now I'd like to dive deeper into how vertical investment alters characters on an individual level, and how those changes impact their strength relative to other characters. And what better way is there to do that than a tier list?
Oh, boy.
Before I begin, I'm going to preface this by saying that I'll be using the cost system to categorize them. Now, if you don't know what the cost system is, it's basically an arbitrary system people made to determine how much 5-star pulls have been put into a character.
Wait, what is that, chat? I've actually never seen that website before. The UI.
But also, another disclaimer. I decided to add the V2 rendition of Silverwolf, Evanescence, and Nova Flare Firefly. Solely because I got bored, I'll be honest. So, don't take their placement too seriously, since it'll change in like a day or two, depending on when I finish editing.
Yeah, I have no idea what's it. What is it?
With all that being said, here's how I'd rank all the modern DPS at one cost. So E0 S0. Keep in mind that I'm trying to keep this very vanilla and just rank the DPS being assumed in their best teams. And even then, their individual placement doesn't actually matter. It's their placement relative to their other DPS that matters.
Bro, just say hey silver. But like, how the hell is our Silver Wolf gonna be literally worse than Firefly? But we're on the same tier as the Sparksy. Okay, so TLDR Evanescence is the greatest DPS in all of Elation. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang.
So for example, what matters isn't that Anax is placed at the very top of Strong. What matters is that he's 2 tiers above E0 S0 Phynon, while using almost the exact same team. But either way, through this list you can see very different placements than what many actually say the strength level of these characters are. For instance, characters like Anaxa and Firefly overperform at this level because once they get their teammates, they're pretty complete. Whereas characters like Aglaya and Phynon that don't have many strong teammate options lose a lot without their E1.
Okay, I want to say, right, as someone with E0 S0 Herda and E0 S0 Mighty on my free-to-play account, I genuinely don't feel that big of like a discomfort if I were to, for example, run E0 S0 Phynon and E0 S0 Aglaya. Okay, I think for Herda it's a little bit like more questionable because S1 is damn good, but I think E0 S0 Mighty is honestly really not that bad. Especially if you really give him like your respective Tribi and Cyrene, he's chilling. Because we have the free event like on the E1 and S1, they do add a lot, but like the kit does not feel as incomplete. If going by how this list is, because like the list is how complete they feel at E0 S0, right? I'm assuming that it is just on the unit themselves and not like your team comps, right? Like what units you run it with is like not part of the question. It is strictly at a baseline E0 S0 kit. I think Mighty is gonna be not as bad as a final at Aglaya. But other than that, okay, for real, right? The reason why I'm not even a Silver Wolf main, because I made Evanescence content as well, right? I E2 S1 both Silver Wolf and Evanescence. I think Silver Wolf, the reason why I feel her E0 S0 is probably not going to be as bad as you think is because, specifically because of reason why like her team is not complete. Just like, for example, E0 S0 Firefly reached her state in this current moment with Dahlia plus Nova Flare. Also because she's the main push, right? So because of that, we already know that this Elation team is like lacking a core structure. If I were to just stick with an E0 S0 Silver Wolf, and I see what's gonna happen when the Elation sustain comes out and fill in that role, because right now Huawei is essentially almost useless for Silver Wolf, I think she will be a lot more viable at this baseline when a team is gonna be able to take place, right? So I would say they're like both ESO, ESO, Evanesia, and Silv is very, very similar. Like we even did it for our like A-course test, as well as like our own account test at ESO S1. They are performance in night 1 and night 2 is within like 30 AV. At the same like cost investment at the DPS perspective, right? So I feel we can bring bro up. We can bring bro up. I think that's pretty much about it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it.
Or E2, respectively. Moving on to 2 cost, you see that those 2 characters, on top of many others, changed drastically now that either their E1 or their...
Oh, V2 is different? Oh. Oh.
Their signature is available to them. And I think as of live server, so 4.1, it's honestly not much of a debate that at a 2 cost level investment, Hycealans, and by extension Dot, is the best team in the game, as her E1 is a strong personal damage increase and an even stronger team DPS increase. Yet, many seem convinced that the full Memoslop team is still the inarguable best team in the game at
Memoslop! Bro, we're gonna use that term from now on, chat. Yo, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Dan Jan Clan. Oh, and oh my god, bro. Memoslop is crazy, bro.
levels of investment.
Memoslop.
Speaking of that team, by the way,
holy slender. That's the first I heard Memoslop as a slender, bro.
Since the rendition of the team that
chooses arms. My goodness. Oh shit.
T over Castris is better at this level of investment. Also, for those who are shocked at Mighty's placement, do not confuse pull value with character strength. He may not be a strong pull, but Cyrene was an insane upskill for the guy. So the narrative being built around him being the worst in 4A's DPS is just kinda wrong after Cyrene's release. Now on to 3 cost, where things start to change drastically, since E2s are now on the table. With that, it should really come as no surprise that Finon shoots all the way up to the top, as him gaining signature at 2 cost does not even come close to giving that up, and instead gaining his E2 at 3 cost.
Yep.
It's really at this level where the narrative that Finon is a top tier DPS starts to actually be true, as nothing really compares to the upscale that his E2 provides. More importantly though, is that Anax has fallen off hard since his E1 is fairly unsubstantial, unless it gets you enough Death Shred to hit 100%. And now he's using the same teammates as Finon, but finally performing worse than him. I also haven't spoken much about Firefly, but spoiler alert, she's not moving. As of V2 of the 4.2 beta, her E2 just
I see.
makes her the best DPS in the game.
God.
And it's not even like she was that far off from the title after Dolly's release. So I honestly don't know what they were thinking. Perhaps she'll be nerfed in V3? I don't know. Who knows? Then finally, we got 4 cost. Generally the stopping point for most people, so it'll be the last tier list we do today. At this level though, not much should really be surprising, as the characters that gain more from their Eidolons, like Castris or Mighty, naturally start to outpace the characters who perform well in lower cost, like Anaxa. It is at this cost that Castris will actually outpace RMC in a Memoslop team, because our numbers just become too large to ignore. And in terms of raw strength,
oh my god,
you can actually make the argument that Mighty can easily slot into the top tier, but the opportunity cost of being reliant on Cyrene becomes a big problem in team building. Besides that though, I've intentionally not spoken too much about Evanesia and Silverwolf, since their current kits will likely change dramatically by the time beta ends. But I think it's important to note that at this level of investment, Silverwolf and Sparksy will finally outpace Evanesia, since both characters have extremely strong E2s, while Evanesia very much so does not right now. Now you might be thinking, wow, that was a lot of information, right? But what if I said all of that didn't matter depending on your account? So let's talk a little bit about what makes theory crafting, or just making any blanket recommendation to others in gacha games, extremely difficult. The concept of context. To accurately do so, I'll use my account as a reference, since I think it serves to kind of elevate the point that my own account, in many ways, contradicts some things that I've brought up already. So, to bring everything back to
I swear to God, if the fucking conclusion of this video is gonna be it depends, I will actually just crash out. I will take back my like, and I will give bro a dislike. You better don't fucking say it depends, bro.
The main point of the
Depends
video.
on what? Depends on what?
We need to
Depends on my dick,
what
bruh.
the correct way to vertically invest is, and show the importance of it. The issue is that it's an impossible question to answer truthfully. And each account has very different goals, luck, preferences, and pre-existing characters. To relate this to me, I have essentially every archetype in the game, with some key eidolons on most of them. So I'd say I'm more of a player that mixes both vertical.
Bro, this guy is funny, bro. This guy could be a streamer, bro. But I swear this guy could be a streamer. Free unit, by the way, Mimo slot were so bad. Oh, to break. I am elation. You know how I am elation? Alright, we haven't even gotten Silver Wolf and Ammonite yet, but bro, this guy could be a streamer. Help me get a clip. Help me clip that, thank you. Alright, help me clip that. Thank you. Gaglia. What?
However, my investments aren't always done in the most optimal.
Also, actually, DHPD is a better slot than highest in here. Actually. Try it for ourselves.
Routing, whether it be because of my own preferences, luck, or just poor foresight on my front. As such, you get weird situations where my second best DPS isn't actually Firefly, even though it should be, since I have E2S1 Fugue and Dahlia. But instead, it's actually my Linksha, with my Rapid being a situational alternative.
Whoa!
Well, I don't think I need to tell you how strong they are viewed in the community.
If you love, we make 10 more Slender videos.
What's funnier though is that I actually agree with what the community says. Those characters are terrible and you shouldn't really invest into them. But on my account, the investment is high enough to where it is my best option. Furthermore, it's important to note that my goals with my account is to zero cycle everything. With the context of my goals, focusing actually on horizontal investment is very important to keep up with zero cycling the night stages in Anomaly Arbitration. Whereas for someone who only cares about doing the 3 main endgame content, there's no real reason to do anything besides vertically invest into 2 to 3 teams with mechanics that favor those game modes. What I'm getting at here is that context changes everything, from what's a strong pull to even whether someone is even classified as a support or not,
crazy.
like with my Linksha. As such, what's the correct way to vertically invest matters solely on the context of your account. The reason why people make recommendations in the way that we do is because context is a variable that is impossible to accurately assess. So we provide advice assuming you're starting off fresh, with 0 outside factors that could impact the results.
Wait. Did you say it depends? Wait, did you just say it depends?
There's no real reason to do anything besides vertically invest into 2 to 3 teams with mechanics that favor those game modes.
Okay.
What I'm getting at here is that context changes everything.
Okay, chat. Respectfully, context changes everything is basically it depends, bro. Like wait, let's just be real, right? Like it's basically the same thing at this point.
From what's a strong pull to even whether someone is even classified
it depends
as a support
on
or
the
not,
context.
like with my Linksha. As such,
wait,
what's the
I
correct...
just realized bro probably just made this entire video to justify Linksha. Right? Think about it. Think about it, guys. Right? Like he made this entire thing to say, and that is why Linksha is the greatest unit in my entire
way to
account.
vertically invest
Yep,
matters solely on the context of your account. the reason why people make recommendations in the way that we do is because context is a variable that is impossible to accurately assess. So we provide advice assuming you're starting off fresh, with zero outside factors that could impact the results. If I'm gonna be honest here, I could make a whole video on that context bit in the end, because there's so much nuance to it all, but that's a problem for a future me to deal with. Also, I said last time that I'd talk about the Nova Flares, but I think it'd be wiser to wait until D3, or once things finalize. There's definitely
and I did it.
flaws in
I
each
would
individual
legit like
outfits
leave
that
a
I'd
comment
like to
on
see
Bro's
addressed
channel.
before I talk about them.
But like he talks about like V2 vision
Anyways,
shit. So like, you know what? To be a little bit safe, let's not comment on anything. Very, very nice little video. Why vertically investing correctly is important. Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang. And I'll see you guys on the Clips channel, right? And I'll see you guys on Clips channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have cooled your last cool, my man.